I'm Mike, I'm an addict.
Hi, Mike.
Thank everyone for being here, man. I'm really glad. I get excited whenever I get to share my story because I often don't go there in my own head because I need help. And I know this program is one of those programs where I don't have to be alone. I can share things that I could never share with somebody else. And that's a powerful thing for me, is to be able to have, because my disease, in my disease, and I used for many years, I used for 30 years, my main drug of choice was crystal meth, and I switched to heroin to try to get off crystal meth. One of my problems was that it's really not about the drugs at all, and I was taught very early on that if I didn't stop, I would die. And I'm so grateful for that person who had that conversation with me while I was in a detox center. I got there, I'm going to back up and tell you the story. As I was going to my, I don't know, like my 10th probation officer, and I had to report to him just a couple more months and I would be off probation forever on a assault and battery beef that I had gotten, and I had done 90 days on, and I had done my weekends, and I had done everything, went to anger management. And I was sitting, and all night long before my probation officer meeting, I was up all night long doing drugs, and I couldn't stop. And I kept saying, I'm going to stop, because I got to go meet my probation officer. By the time I got down there, I was a physical wreck. And I was a nightmare, and I was sweating, and I was shaking, and he asked to urine test me, and I knew I was through. I knew that I had no defense, and I had no argument, and I knew it was my third probation violation, and I was going to have to do a year in jail on it. And I broke down, and it was the first time in my entire life that I actually broke down, and I was at gut level honesty about my disease. I told him I couldn't stop using. No matter what I did or what I tried or how hard I worked at it, I could not stop using. And he asked me if I'd ever been to a program, and I had never been to a program. I didn't really know what it was. And I was so glad that instead of taking me, I was in handcuffs sitting on his bench, and he took me to a detox center instead of to jail, like I should have been. And I'm so grateful for that man. I'm so grateful for Narcotics Anonymous. A fellow member of NA came to that detox center, and he brought an H&I meeting into me, and he told my story. You know, he was a heroin addict for many years, and he had gotten clean, and I just wanted to know how he did it, how he stopped. You know, without help and all by myself, I told myself all these lies, and I lived by those lies. And it was, I'm not hurting anyone else. I could stop anytime I want. That I could control my using. That I could quit for a while. That I could switch one drug for another. And that, no, I wasn't hurting anyone else, so why don't you leave me alone? I mean, that was one of the deadliest of all my lies that I told myself, because it got me nowhere. It got me using for 35 years, and I was a mess. I had abscesses all over my body. I was sick all the time. I couldn't use enough to get clean. They wouldn't even let me on the methadone program, and I had tried to do the detox methadone twice, and it was like my third strike, you know, and I was going to be on methadone maintenance for the rest of my life, only I couldn't afford the program. The reason why I say all this is because that gut level deep despair and misery and absolute hopelessness is what got me in these rooms. I didn't get here because they wrote me a letter and asked me to show up, or somebody sent me some flowers. I got here begging someone to help me. And so what I had to do is, that first step is what they tell you, is that I admitted that I was an addict. Now that's a powerful statement. Before, in that time, I had told people I was an addict as a joke, or maybe blew it off. But this time, because of that guy who brought that message into me, I knew what it meant. It meant the possibility that I'd never have to use again, and that I can admit for the first time that I suffer from a disease and not a moral deficiency. And this disease affected every aspect of my life and made me miserable, and I couldn't get out all by myself. As badly as I wanted to cure myself and be my own man, I needed to ask for help. I needed to rely on somebody else. And then I really never knew how to live life on life's terms. And when I admitted those things, I began to surrender. I began to surrender to somebody else who had a better understanding of what I was suffering and a better idea and a direction for my life. And one of those things, I had been to psychiatrists, and I had been to psych wards, and I had been to churches, and I had been to jails. And what was wrong with me was inside of here. And I had to change my thinking. I had to let go and know that I didn't have all the answers so that I could absorb what somebody was trying to tell me. And those are in those first 3 steps, is that absorption of that I'm an addict, that I need to ask for help, and that I need a power greater than myself. And when I started to accept those things, those spiritual principles in my life, I needed to be honest. I needed to be able to take responsibility for myself. And those things were powerful, powerful tools that began to change my thinking and my perspective and how I viewed the world. Because I had always viewed the world as I was a victim, and I had permission slips to use because of all the terrible things that had happened to me in my past, and all the things that other people had done, and all the reservations and resentments and what everybody else had done. And that's when I finally came to my 4th step. And when I sat down with another addict, a therapeutic value of one addict caring enough about me to listen to me, he told me how to write out my 4th step and how to get rid of all those things that had been hurting me and keeping me from being able to stay clean. My first 3 years of trying this program, I was like 5 years before I could even get 60-day clean. That's how hard this disease hit me. But I had many, many months of being able to stay clean and then just having that one relapse. Because this disease is so insidious, it is so powerful, it takes over our entire mind. And when I read the book and when I started to read the literature, it told me what I suffered from. You know, the drugs are coursing through your veins, and of course you need a detox from those, from the initial effects of drugs. But my life, the next thing was the compulsion and the obsession to use in my lifestyle. My language was drug addicts. All my friends were drug dealers. All my connections everywhere I went had something to do. In my house had paraphernalia everywhere because my entire life had been absorbed by drugs. And then the final thing that the book talks about is this big gaping hole deep inside of me where I had and I found out this in my 4th step that I actually was angry at God. I was angry at the world. I was angry at how they had treated me and how they had treated other people. And I had all these resentments. And I felt like this void where I suffered from low self-esteem. And this anger and this hatred inside me seethed. And what the program gave me is forgiveness and a new look on life, a new outlook on life, that I could change my perspective and become positive. And those positive feelings grew. And as I saw other people being positive and laughing and joking, I became less and less relying on a angry, negative, rage-filled existence. Because what I realized is that when I said this is the drugs aren't really the issue, is because I can relapse on anything. I can relapse on rage, or on gambling, or the other addiction, pornographic material. Whatever I can focus in on something else on some negative level, I can do that to get on. And I mean that really because I had a severe anger issue. That's why I ended up in anger management, because I liked that feeling of rage because it gave me a sense of power. But I got me in so much trouble and so much misery and so much pain out of not being able to control my anger. And so this program offers so much more than just stopping drugs. But I remember those initial times when I first was stopping, someone said, here's the bad news. You can never use drugs ever again. But the good news is you never ever have to use drugs again. And there was a long list of positive things about that. I didn't have to waste all my money. I didn't have to go back to jail. I didn't have to hurt anyone. I didn't have to feel all alone and insane wishing I was dying. Another issue too is I was on a suicidal binge at the end of my life, because either I was going to get clean or I was going to do myself in. And I couldn't tell anyone that, because I would end up in a psych ward again. And so I knew enough about that. And when I went to meetings and I talked with fellow addicts and I unburdened myself and I told them how I felt, they didn't judge me. And they didn't turn me in. They put their arms around me and they told me that they had felt that same way. And when I tell you this, it's not because I want to glorify it or make myself look good. I want people to understand that people who come from us and where we've been need to help each other. In fact, that means you. That means that I need you. I can't stay clean unless somehow I can reach out to you and you can reach out to me. And that's why we do H&I. That's why we go into these facilities. It isn't because it's glamorous or it's a nice place to go or it's even fun. But I'm so grateful to get to go in there and get what I need too. Because I need you guys to help me understand this disease and maybe be able to change my life and turn a page and do something positive with the time that I have left. I want to tell you it's about jails, institutions, and death. And death is one of those last things. They don't say whose death it is. I've experienced death from so many of my friends, and my little brother committed suicide, and my dad and my older brother, and all those friends that I had that are no longer here today. And one of those things is I can focus in on life. I can focus in on that their death was not in vain. It wasn't for nothing. That this disease takes us out. And if we don't do something about it, then we'll end up being right back where we were, you know. Because this is a reprieve from my disease. And if I don't do something about it, actively support my own recovery on a daily basis, that's why we say one day at a time, I am subject to going right back to where I was in that lockup cage or in a psych ward or in a dumpster somewhere. The last thing I want to tell you is about being a prisoner is there's a prison in your mind too, which you can't escape. Which I sat all alone by myself and never went anywhere, and I locked myself in because I lived in fear. And my only tool in life was drugs, and that was the only thing I used. And so today my horizons are much, much greater. My goals and my missions are much more selfless. And I'm able to do that because of this program. I encourage anyone who gets into this program to work the step, get a sponsor, reach out to other people. And also remember that if you get something from this, if you're really able to get clean and stuff, that you have an obligation to try to give this back. Because one of the biggest part about my recovery is this ability to reach out to you guys. I'm so grateful that you welcome me into your facility. I've been going to psych wards and Hillcrest for years, and I go into jail to a really good friend of mine, and then I moved from another area and I restarted, and I started going back into another jail facility. And every time I meet inmates in jail, they give me encouragement, they give me advice, and they talk to me about the steps. And I find there's just such a camaraderie amongst people who have been there and have survived. And I know this one of those things is that no matter what, ever again, that we used to say, and we kind of mantra it, you know, and you can join this group and you can be part of it, you know. And it's not easy at first, it took me a while, but I have over 12 years clean, and I'm just so grateful that I'm able to be here today. And thank you. Thank you.